Welcome, everyone. Thank you again for joining us on our second commercial live series in what we're hoping will be a continuous commercial setting, because we as a company want to turn back the spotlight on some of our Aelius family members. My name is Ryan Kirwan. I'm the CEO of Aelius LED. We're a horticultural lighting company situated here in Sudbury, Ontario, and we have clients across Canada, and one of these clients is on with me right now. It's Rudi Schiebell. He's the CEO and founder of Habitat Life Sciences. And right away, I'd like to say, Rudi, thanks for joining us here today. You're one of our first family members, and you're trying out a few different models of ours, so it's appreciative, and we want to thank you right off the bat for getting here. And we'll dive right into the first question for yourself. We've had a few customers contact us already. They want to know basically what Habitat Life Sciences is all about. And first question on their mind is, are you salmon farmers? Did that come first, or are you cannabis craft growers?
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me. Yeah, I mean, on your question, we were cannabis growers first in terms of the fish or cannabis, but even before that, we were bison ranchers. So it takes a step back into where we actually got into agriculture, and that was really what stemmed that the bison ranching and focusing on holistic farming practices was really what got us into wanting to do aquaponics from an indoor agricultural standpoint. Yeah, it's a little bit different, but we're really excited to share what we've come up with and the progress that we've made at Habitat with aquaponics.
Yeah, no, that's great. And at the end of the day, aquaponics, although people talk about it often, you don't see it too often in this industry. Definitely not as a micro license producer, but there aren't many licensed producers either. Obviously, there might be some upfront costs that people don't really want to get into, or it's just a complicated process. What do you see it being as the big issue about more people doing this aquaponics?
Yeah, I think, I mean, that's one of the things that when you're getting into aquaponics, you really want to get into the system as a whole, or the farm as a whole. If you're getting into aquaponics just to grow cannabis and have your aquaculture product just be a substitute, it's a really hard business model to work on or work off of. So what we've really done is we've pushed the whole organic salmon side of our farm as a whole business on its own, and we're selling our organic salmon locally through the interior BC to a point where we're sold out for the foreseeable future for salmon. So we're working on how exactly we can expand that and then expand our canopy space in cannabis, but also we're looking at the ability to expand it into other types of crops as well, with in tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, those types of things as well. Because as we can really scale up the salmon side, we view that our craft program in cannabis is going to be capped out at a certain size. We don't want to get into this huge scale production on that side that we could do with the salmon. So that's where, we want to expand into growing all different types of crops.
Yeah, rightfully so too. I mean, vertical farming, it's not going anywhere. If anything, we're at the beginning stages where people want to buy stuff that is locally fresh and grown, and they don't want to have any downtime, especially some of these stores, if you're selling commercially, waiting for produce to come. They can just get it locally from you and then be distributors in your area. That's a great idea. This vegetable growing, do you see that in the near future, or do you see that 3 or 4 years out from now?
Probably within the next 2 to 3 years. We're really focused on refining our latest expansion, which was 100% cannabis, and getting our latest cultivars out to market. We're obviously built on a foundation from growing in the MMAR space to transitioning with aquaponics into the commercial space now. So we have a strong history and background in the cannabis side, and we really want to keep building that brand forward under our Cake and Caviar brand. So that was one of our purposes for splitting off the Cake and Caviar brand, which is stemmed from our breeding program, so that we can really allow the Habitat brand itself to embrace the aquaponics side and not be capped by a lot of the regulations that are in place just strictly for cannabis. So that's why you'll see with our product coming out over the summer here that we've done a bit of a shift to the brand being Cake and Caviar by Habitat.
Okay, and this Cake and Caviar brand obviously didn't happen overnight. Tell us a little bit about the genetics that it took to get to these very popular brands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so being in the Shuswap in British Columbia, which is essentially between Kamloops and Salmon Arm, for anyone doesn't know where that is. There's a long history of cannabis cultivation here, and with that there was a lot of different cultivars that were grown that became very popular across Canada that stemmed from the Shuswap area. So we were very fortunate in that fact that from our background in growing, that we were able to sort through thousands of different varieties, ultimately picking different, selecting a special pheno of OGKB, which became our caviar line and everything that we bred into our caviar line. And then we selected basically the sweet version of that, the sweet to our savory and the cake, with a do-si-do variant that we selected. And again, we sorted through thousands of seeds over the course of the last 10 years, and then built up our genetics program from those to make up what Cake and Caviar is today.
Good stuff. And this Cake and Caviar can be found mostly in your area. I don't think it's made its way out to Ontario.
Not
where
yet.
It can be found right now.
Right now, we're in Saskatchewan and Alberta through Shelter Market. We're currently just working on our own processing license and working with a partner down the road from us 5 minutes. So we've done a bit of a change in our processing partners, and so we're hoping to focus more on British Columbia here in the coming months, and then work to get out to Ontario. Most likely, as soon as this direct to the retail store happens out your way, then we can start to pick the areas and the stores that we can work with really closely to communicate and talk about our Cake and Caviar brand and somewhat skirt around the OCS. Yeah,
apparently that's always a stumbling block too, with the OCS and fees and Health Canada fees and excise taxes. How have you been able to weather this massive amount of or endless amount of fees that it seems to be being shoved down our throats?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. Unfortunately, a lot of that ends up on the consumer right now. We try to absorb as much of that as possible, but ultimately, there's to your point, there's a lot of mouths to feed down the cannabis supply chain. So as we start to move some more of these things in house, processing and getting a sales amendment, we should be able to start getting some of these other percentages that we're paying down. So
right.
That's going to be probably another year, 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems like you're not the only one going the processing route. With this Cake and Caviar brand, what are you looking at as far as processing? What's the end product going to be? What do you see as the future?
Right now, I mean, we're focusing on everything around our brand being from the premium quality flower and those high quality apicals. That's being what makes up our eighths in right now. That's the main SKU that we're selling. But we're working with some new partners to get pre-rolls back onto the market that can coincide with our premium flower, and we're shooting for those costs to be around the same price of 3.5 grams of pre-rolls will be pretty close to the same price of the apicals, trying to absorb some of that increased packaging cost with the pre-rolls. But and then we're also excited to bring back our fresh frozen rosin program. So we're just waiting on Health Canada to let us start washing our product again and getting some concentrates out as well. All those will be different formats of the same cultivars that we're growing. So we want to give a different offering for our cultivars in whatever form people want to enjoy cake and caviar.
Awesome. As far as the aquaponics license go, if anybody wants to get into it, do you recommend it? And do you have any tips with Health Canada on how to circumvent it maybe a lot easier than it took you?
Mm-hmm. Well, Health Canada actually was really reasonable with us, and just wanted a little bit of a tour of the aquaculture side of things, but really just focused it on the cannabis cultivation. So we didn't have a really bad experience with Health Canada at all in terms of the licensing side. The one thing that comes along with aquaculture, especially with growing salmon, is we had to get our aquaculture license from the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. So now you're dealing with a whole nother government division that you need to get your licensing in order to actually have salmon on site and grow it for commercial purposes. In terms of people getting into it, I would definitely recommend finding an aquaculture partner or an aquaponics partner, someone who's gone through it. There wasn't that option for us when we were getting into it. We really had to design and engineer and troubleshoot our own system, which has taken essentially the better part of the last 3.5 years to really get refined to where we're growing our plants off of the recycled waste streams from the salmon operation. That takes a lot of understanding in terms of how ecosystems and different nutrient cycles work. And so anyone who can find a partner, that's something that we're looking at potentially adding on to our program as well, is the fact that we've been able to crack this nut, so to speak, is to find people who want to grow with aquaponics and be that technology partner from the aquaculture side.
Yeah, I mean, the first mover is always sometimes it's a daunting task, but at the same time, it can be very rewarding down the end once you actually nail it. It seems like that's what you're doing with this technology. What made you decide to go with salmon? I know tilapia is usually the first use for aquaponics.
Well, honestly, our first fish that we were looking at doing was sturgeon. We started down the road of wanting to do sturgeon and have something where we could focus on the cannabis side first, and then produce this really high quality product in the caviar. And so that's how we got introduced with our current COO and director of aquaculture, Justin Henry. He's about 25 years experience in inland recirculating aquaculture systems. Started Northern Divine caviar and sturgeon out in Seashelt, and was a part of building a strong genetics and broodstock program for both coho salmon and sturgeon there. And when we brought him on board, it was around sturgeon, but his advice and over the course of a few months talked us into doing salmon from a production and farm standpoint, a time to market and size of market for high grade or sushi grade organic coho salmon. So that was really how we ended up on it. We never really even looked at tilapia. We wanted to always do a protein that had a higher market value and was perceived as a higher value premium product.
Yeah, no, 100%. Salmon, just going to shop for salmon, the price isn't going down for salmon either. So it must be a nice little revenue stream that most people don't have access to, especially as a micro processor or even a standard LP. You have some salmon spin-off, and you also have the flour as well too. So I'm sure that at the end of the day, it helps with the bottom line.
Yeah, no, everything helps, and we have a lot of strong supporters from the seafood and culinary and food side of the food industries, and that's been really impactful too. In talking about cannabis being an agricultural product as well, that is not this product that has this huge stigma behind it that should be put in the corner. It is a plant, it is an agricultural product, and it's something that over the next few years is going to start to get more and more normalized, I feel. So
good. Well, good for you. I was reading some of your, or watching your video online, which I highly recommend everyone go see. Tells you a little bit more, gets in deeper to the aquaponic system, but you're recycling almost 100% of your water. So definitely sustainable there.
%.
Yeah. So stuff like that, that's where the future is going, sustainability. And in aquaponics, it probably starts there. You're probably going to see a few more people dabbing into this. You mentioned possible expansions. Would you look at offering Habitat Life or maybe some consulting services to people that are interested in doing this?
We're definitely exploring that. Right now, we don't have the capacity to take those on right now, but we are starting to look at what the steps forward are for us being able to do that. Whether that comes in the form of a franchise or an ability to have our operating system go behind aquaponic systems. Those types of things are what we're exploring right now, and we'll hopefully have some updates on that over the next 3 to 6 months.
Okay, good stuff. We had one question here, or a note, which is a good question. Exporting, are you exporting any of your genetics or flower? Do you need a specific license with Health Canada for that?
You do. We haven't had the need to really export anything right now. Everything that we've produced has been selling out, so we're lucky in that regard, I guess you could say. But as we start to add on more capacity, that's definitely going to become a bigger part of our business, is exploring how we can get our product outside of Canada, because obviously the world's a lot bigger than the Canadian cannabis market, and it also goes along with, as we scale up the aquaculture side, is that's going to have a very big export side of it as well. So I think in terms of Habitat having a strong future, that looking at all products that we grow on the global stage is going to be an important part of our future.
Yeah, 100%. You're definitely you definitely on. You have a good start, basically, because as I said, the world is definitely looking for more sustainability, and for what you guys have done in a short period of time speaks volumes. I do have another question here. Is it more economical to buy the feed that the fish need as compared to nutrients for your typical crop?
Well, the feed is absorbed in the sales of the salmon production. So in terms of the salmon business being its own business, that's part of the inputs in growing salmon. With that, the waste is something that in a normal fish farm you usually have to pay to get rid of, or have large amounts of land to deal with. We're repurposing that and turning that into the fertilizer, which becomes a net cost into the cannabis side. So all that stuff is offset by the aquaculture side.
Okay, good to know. Rudi, I don't know if there's anything else that we'll wrap up here. I know you have a busy day as well too, so we appreciate your time. Is there anything else that you wanted to add or get across that I may not have asked just yet?
No, I think we covered off a lot of the topics that we chatted about. So
good stuff. So for anyone else that's interested in Habitat Life sciences, you can go to their website, habitat.life. You can pick up some of their product, the cake and caviar, Alberta, Saskatchewan, soon to be coming to other provinces as well too. If you're interested in the aquaponics, in the aquaponics technology, 100% go. You'll be able to see Rudi's contacts, whether it's on our website or on habitat.life. It's definitely an interesting conversation to have, and I'm sure Rudi will be more than willing to speak with you about that. If you didn't miss out on any of this video, it is going to be on our social media platforms. Just write in the word Aelius LED or Habitat Life. We're also going to put something, give you the ability to have it on your sites, social media sites as well, Rudi. Yeah, thank you very much. This was very educational. And again, thank you very much for being part of our Aelius fam, and continued success in the future.
Thanks a lot. And the lights have been working great. So we'll be sending lots of photos and info over to you shortly here on how things have been progressing with the new expansion.
Yes, we always appreciate your feedback in that regard. So until next week, everyone, we have another one coming up June 29th. Our next guest will be somebody out your way, prairie grass girls, I always call them, Rebecca and Olivia. Until then, everyone, happy growing, and remember to ask yourself, what's above your plants? Thanks again, Rudi.
Thank you.